here comes His Excellency, the former President. Your Majesty, shall we be apt to receive him? Good. Your Majesty, Your Excellency, you are welcome. Good. Good. So, please, everybody should resume a seat. Then, good. Your Majesties, and then His Excellency and his entourage, by a permission of the President of this House, we kick-start this program with a prayer by the representative of the regional Imam in the person of Adam Mustafa Sharif. So, Mal Adam.
May we all be in a prayer mood. Sallu ala al-Nabi al-Kareem. In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful and especially merciful. Almighty Allah, we adore you, we worship you, we glorify your name. We thank you for this day. We thank you for our lives. And we thank you for all that you have done for us. We call on you this morning to preside over all the activities that we are going to carry out here. His Excellency, the former President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, is in our midst. He is embarking on a nationwide tour. We call on you to protect him, to guide him, and give him courage and wisdom. Grant him all that he desires, and let him fulfill all that he has promised to do when granted the permission to handle the affairs of this country. And to his team, we call for God's protection. And to our noble and revered chiefs, we pray that God should grant you wisdom and patience so that at the end of the day, your name shall be glorified. We say this through Kullillahumma Malikal Mulki Tu'ti Mulka Man Tasha' wa Tanzi'ul Mulka Liman Tasha' wa Tu'izzu Man Tasha' wa Tuzillu Man Tasha' biyadika al-khayr innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir تولج الليل في النهار وتولج النهار في الليل وتخرج الحي من الميت وتخرج الميت من الحي وترزق من تشاء بغير حساب آمين.
Thank you, Malam Mustafa. Maybe because of time constraints, we are not delaying at all. We invite the president of this house. Oh, fine. Per the program, we are to know who is visiting us. Your Excellency, this is a full house of the Upper East Region House of Chiefs. All the 18 Paramounts are represented here. Maybe because of time constraint, we would not want to go through the labor of introducing everybody one by one. So we want to invite the regional communication officer to introduce His Excellency's entourage.
Thank you very much, Alaji. With your kind permission, Your Excellency, Your Royal Majesty, I introduce the team that has accompanied the flag bearer of the NDC to this August House. So, we have members of Parliament, and from my far left, we have the Honorable Member of Parliament for Navrongo Central, Honorable Samson Chilabra, with us here. Thank you. Next is the Honorable MP for Bongo, Honorable Edward Abambiri Bawa. We are also privileged to have the Member of Parliament for Nabdam and Parliamentary Candidate, Dr. Mark Nawani. We have our mother from Timpani, Honorable Lydia Kamvarba de Krugu. We have the parliamentary candidate for Talisi, Honorable Daniel Dong Mahama. Thank you very much. And as part of His Excellency's entourage is our own sister, the beautiful Beatrice Annan. Thank you very much. We also have the former CEO of the former MP for Nabdam, Honorable Moses Asaga, also with us. And then we have His Excellency, former ambassador, former MP for Talisi, Honorable John Tia. And then we have the MP for Boku Central, Honorable Mahama Yarga. We also have the parliamentary candidate for Chana Paga, Honorable Alamzi Nachinav. Thank you. We also have the MP for Garu, have the landlord himself, Honorable Isaac Adungo, MP, Bolga Central. And then we have the constituency chairman, Honorable Martinaka Ira Yamga. We have our only regional chairman, Chairman Bundoza, Alhaji Bolnaba. And for the man who has summoned us all here today is the honest and sincere leader, the former president, the flag bearer of the Republic of Ghana, the flag bearer of the NDC, and incoming president of the Republic of Ghana. His Excellency, John Dramani Mahama. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Communication Officer. There is always room for amendment everywhere. I've been reminded that I shouldn't presume that because our Paramount chiefs have had a lot of interactions previously with the former president, everybody knows them. So I am here to actually introduce the members of the House present here before the president's address. So starting from my immediate right here, we have His Royal Majesty the Pagapio. Then following him is Kairopio. Then Bo Naba of the Bongo traditional area. Then we have Sokoti Naba. Then representative of the Naga Naba, who is not here with us in person. Then we have Nakon. Introduce is Nakon first, and then followed by Naga, who is outside the region for an assignment. Then we have the Navrupio, good, followed by the Sandem Nab, good. Then following him is Chichuliga Naba. Then Siniesi Nab. Then Bedelembisa Nab. Then Kanjaga Nab. Bedema Nab. Then we have the acting president of the Bolga Traditional Council here. Then Kwikpira Naba is here. His representative. Then Bugri Naba is here. Then we have the Pusiga Naba. Then we have Tili Naba here. Then we have Sapeliga Naba. Then Binduri Naba. Then we have Zwarungu Naba here. Followed by Tungurana. Then we have Nangodi Naba. Then Kologo Naba. Then followed by Katyu Pio. Then we have the Gumbo Naba. And then the representative of Boku Naba, who couldn't be with us in person. And then we have the Birigu Naba at the high table. We have the Mirigu Naba and the vice president of the house. And then last but not the least, His Excellency the Chiana Pio, president of the Upper East Region House of Chiefs. Thank you very much. So on this note, I humbly invite the President to welcome the guests to this house. Your Majesty.
Your Excellency, former President of the Republic of Ghana, my colleague members of the House present here, honorable members of Parliament, the regional chairman of the National Democratic Congress, and other regional executives, our friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. I would like, on behalf of the chiefs and people of the Upper East region, and especially the Vice President and other members of the Regional House of Chiefs, to welcome you to the region to begin a campaign tour. We wish to extend to you a warm hand of friendship and brotherhood especially as you are one of our own. It is customary and a regular feature of our political tradition that in an election year, politicians crisscross the country, trooping into every nook and cranny in search of precious votes. The underlying issue is that in order to canvass for votes, the politicians have to meet the people wherever they may be, to present their messages and policy frameworks to enable the electorate make informed decisions as to who to vote for an election day. You are here with your campaign team, which I can judge is versatile and well focused enough to garner the votes for you. Your Excellency, you do not need tutorials from any of us here on how to go about your campaign in the region. You are a veteran in this enterprise, and there is no need to belabor the point. We, however, wish to remind you of the need to go about with a sense of decorum and civility. The people you meet in your rounds are the same people you will be governing when you get the mandate to rule this country. I therefore wish to encourage you to allow peace, respect, and love to permeate your campaign throughout the period of your engagement with the people. I say all this because, as you are aware, the Upper East is generally a peaceful region until the Boko crisis erupted into proportions beyond human imaginations. The crisis has reached a stage where everybody is highly suspicious of their neighbor. Your Excellency, we are no longer safe in the region. Whether you are a Kosase or Mampresi, well-meaning citizens who want to see peace in the area are tagged to either of the warring factions, making the finding of a permanent solution to the crisis very difficult. I know you understand this very well, since all the political factions are tagged in one way or the other. It is my hope that as you go around to conduct your campaign, you will engage them in discussions that will give you inputs that will enable you craft a strategy for ending the conflict when God gives you the mandate to assume power in this country come January 7th, 2025. Ghanaians need peace to go about their normal duties. The Kosa Traditional Council needs peace in Boko. To restore the area back to its former status, it is important that a lot of work is done by the politicians. The regional capital and suburbs of it have recently witnessed horrific target killings, which are troubling indeed. We need peace and a permanent solution to prevent this mess spreading to the entire region. We know the burden rests on the sincerity and honesty of the politicians on both sides of the divide. We in the Upper East region are prepared to extend a warm hand of cooperation to whoever is interested in bringing peace to Boko and the Kosa traditional area as a whole, especially in this election year. We understand your mission here, and I would not like to take much of your time. Your Excellency, my colleagues and I are honored that you have made time to engage us first. We thank you and appreciate your understanding of the chieftaincy set up in this region. Therefore, once more, You are cordially welcome to the Upper East region. And may the Almighty God and your ancestors bless you in your campaign trail as you traverse our communities to engage community members and socio-economic groups. On behalf of the House, especially my Vice President too, I welcome you and your team to the region, and we wish you fruitful engagements. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you, President. So, per the program, I invite Honorable James Agaga to come and address us on behalf of the MP's caucus of the Upper East region.
Thank you. The President of the Upper East Regional House of Chiefs and revered and distinguished members of the House of Chiefs Upper East, His Excellency former President Mahama, flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, and by God's grace the incoming president would be sworn into office on the 7th of January 2025. Colleagues from Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, I would now seize the opportunity to make a few comments on behalf of the Upper East Parliamentary Caucus. In all, this region was very charitable. You gave the National Democratic Congress 14 out of the 15 seats. I'd like to use this opportunity to say thank you once again for doing us the honor. Now, His Excellency President Mahama needs no introduction at all in this region. And like the President of the House has indicated, this region is his home. He's here on a national tour. It's the turn of the Upper East region. But he cannot come to the Upper East region without first and foremost calling upon you, the custodians of our land, and to extend his felicitations to you. That is why His Excellency is here this morning with you. Now, His Excellency is a man who has led this country before, and so you all know him very well. His track record is very clear, is evident for all to see. When he was president, as a son of this region, he did not turn his back on us. Most of his projects are there. They are dotted across the constituencies for all of us to see. In fact, one of his flagship programs, the E-blocks, this region had its fair share, even though we still yearn for more. But His Excellency did not turn his back on this region. In terms of the road network, he did a lot to improve upon the road network in our region. And so, most of the highways were awarded on contract during his stewardship. Unfortunately, when he left office, most of those projects have been abandoned. But he's here. I'm not going to take the wind out of his sails. When he takes his turn to address you, he definitely will tell you what package he has when he becomes president of this country again. My colleague Adongo is here, and so I do not want to veer into an arena where I am not too well educated. The economy. President Mahama was head of the economic management team when he was vice president. As president, we all saw how he steered the economy of this country. Unfortunately, when he left office, we all know the story of our country in terms of the economy, the performance of our city. But President Mahama is back. The NDC has presented him once again to assume the mantle of leadership and to restore the economy, to fix our country's currency. Poverty has widened, it has increased because of the way the economy has been managed. But President Mahama has come to present himself and with your support, is more than capable of fixing the mess that has been created. Revered chiefs, my distinguished fathers, President Mahama has a package. But like I said, I won't take the wind out of his sails. He talks about the 24-hour economy. I think he would tell us what is in store for us so far as the 24-hour economy is concerned. I said I was going to make a few comments, and so I will leave it here, and I crave your indulgence. His Excellency would have the stand to tell you what his mission is, and when you give him the permission, he will tour our land once again and sell his message to the people. To conclude, President spoke about peace. We all know President Mahama is a peace-loving gentleman. Very peace-loving, that is not in doubt. His very nature epitomizes peace. And so when President spoke about peace, I said, oh, but this is the domain of His Excellency President Mahama. As Commander-in-Chief and Chairman of the National Security Council, he had his turn to manage the Boko crisis. And I dare say, under his watch, there was relative peace and calm in Boko. And when he becomes president again, he will not turn his back onto the people of Boko. I thank you for the opportunity. God bless us all.
Thank you, Honorable. So, maybe inferring from Honorable this thing, it was like President was preaching to the converted. Good. So, at this juncture, Your Majesties, you have your turn. The program is a listening tour. So, members of the House will take some contributions from you, if any. Otherwise, we invite the President. But members of Upper East, if you have some contribution, you raise your hand, I hand you the mic. Hold this. Sorry, Your Majesties, the National Chairman's speech on the program has been taken off. So amend it accordingly. So we are just taking your contributions, if any. Maybe we'll take just 2 people. Okay. So would I take this silence? Okay. Okay. So protocol. Our revered chiefs are saying that they may want to listen to His Excellency first, and then if there are some contributions that can follow. Thank you very much. So, Your Excellency, maybe this is a clever way of changing the program to suit us. We can do that.
Thank you very much. My fathers, I am happy to be with you again and to thank you for the warm welcome you always give me whenever I come back home. I know we gave you very short notice before this program, but as usual, for a son coming home, you've managed to assemble in a full house to receive me. I thank you very much, and may God bless all of you. As was explained, I'm here on what we call the Building Ghana tour. For us in the NDC, we're a social democratic party, and we believe that the purpose of seeking political power is to serve the people. And so if you want to serve the people, then you need to know what their needs are and what their challenges are. And so since before the 2020 elections, anytime we're going into an election, And you know that it's obligatory for every party to present a manifesto to the country. Rather than get a few experts to sit and draft a manifesto, we have adopted the practice of going around the country and interacting with all people of all walks of life to understand the challenges that face them, and also to find out what it is they particularly want the NDC to do if it wins political power. And so we've been around the country. We've been to several of the regions, Brongahafo, former Brongahafo, which is now 3 regions, Bono East, Bono, and Ahafo. We've been to all of them. We've been to the Western North. We've been to Western region. We've been to Central region. We've been to Volta region. We were in Ashanti 2 weeks ago, and the whole of last week we were in the Eastern region. And just this morning we arrived here in the Upper East region. And as my brother Honorable Agalga said, every area has the custodians, and you cannot just come and bypass them and start to do whatever you have come for. And so it's only right and traditional that we pay our respects to the custodians of the land before we begin the program that brought us here. Now, I want to thank the President for his welcome address, and use it as an opportunity to thank the people of the Upper East region, the NDC delegates who voted in our primaries last year in May and gave me a resounding 98% plus of the votes cast. I know that in Upper East region I won a very overwhelming victory. And so I want to use this opportunity to thank the NDC executives and all our delegates who participated in those primaries. I also want to use it as an opportunity to thank the people of the Upper East region for the significant victory that we also won in the 2020 elections. As the Honorable Agalga said, we won the majority of constituencies in this region except for 1 seat, and I'm hopeful that in 2024 we're going to sweep all the seats in the Upper East region. Unfortunately, we're meeting at a time our country is going through very serious economic crisis. And I've always said that this crisis is self-inflicted. It is the result of mismanagement, and let nobody tell you otherwise. Our economic managers have landed us in this situation first because of excessive borrowing. I mean, when you are the head of a household and you are managing the household, you manage it in such a way that you do not lead your family into debt. And so you must borrow with that in mind. Unfortunately, when the New Patriotic Party took over from us, President Kufuor had started the first entry into the international credit market, which was the Eurobond. He borrowed only $750 million. In the 4 years I was president, with everything that we did and all the developments that you see, we went onto the Eurobond market and borrowed only $3.5 billion. In 6 years of the MPP administration, in the Eurobond market, they went and borrowed $13.5 billion. And my fathers, the tragedy of it is that $13.5 billion would have put an asphalt overlay from Tamale to Paga to halt the deterioration of the highway that goes to Burkina Faso. With $13.5 billion, we would have finished all the work in the Bolgatanga Central Hospital. With $13.5 billion, we would have finished the road from here through Navrongo to Wa. There are so many things that we're yearning for that money could have been applied to. Unfortunately, most of that money went into consumption. And so, as an irresponsible head of household, you go and borrow money instead of extending your house, re-roofing the house, providing water in the house, improving electricity in the house. You use it and eat chicken and feed fat. And eventually when your creditors come after you, you have no money to repay the loan. And that's the situation in which we find ourselves. We have declared ourselves bankrupt. Most of the time, they try to attribute it to COVID and to Ukraine-Russia war. But we're not alone in COVID and Ukraine-Russia war. All our neighboring countries also went through the same. But how many of them have been declared bankrupt? And how many of them have reneged on paying their foreign debt? And so we've landed in this crisis as a result of the mismanagement of our economy, pure and simple. And it has created a lot of hardship for our people. And I do think that the good people of Ghana are living that experience. Nobody can come and tell you your life is better when your life is getting worse. This government took the cedi to dollar exchange at about 4 cedis to the dollar. And they said they had arrested the dollar and jailed it. Unfortunately, from what is happening, the dollar is not in jail, it is still running. Because today as we speak, if you don't have about 12.5 cedis, you will not get $1. I give the example too of the national debt today. When we're leaving office, it was 120 billion cedis from Nkrumah's time till I left office. With a population of 30 million, if you divided 120 billion by 30 million, if we decided that all of us were going to pack our portmanteaus and our bags and pay the debt and everybody would take his way, we all would have paid 4,000 cedis in 2016. Today, if we decide that let's settle the debt, everybody should take his part and pay. And we'll take our portmanteaus and go wherever we'll go. Each of us is going to pay, including a newborn baby, 20,000 cedis before we can be free to go. And so, we're in a deep economic crisis. And we've had to go back into an IMF program. And the IMF program requires that government should raise revenue. But the point with economy is that you don't lump all the burden of rebalancing the deficit on the business sector. Government too has a responsibility. And the responsibility of government is that it must also cut expenditure. Because the whole thing about economic crisis and the deficit is that your expenditure exceeds your income. And so if you want to quickly resolve an economic crisis, while you increase income, you also reduce expenditure. Unfortunately for this government, they want to live large. Office of Government Budget is continuing to increase from about 1-point-something billion in a time of crisis. Office of President Budget has increased to 2.4 billion. And so when you're asking citizens to tighten their belts, you must tighten your belt first and let them know that you're also making sacrifices. Unfortunately, today, businesses are burdened with so many taxes. Ghanaian citizens are burdened with so many taxes. And the point is, there's a limit to which you can impose tax. Because if you impose too much tax, the economy stops growing. And if the economy stops growing, then the ability to pay is limited. And so today you can go and lock people's shop and things. People are not buying because there's no disposable income in the pockets of the citizens. And so GRA goes and locks people's shops and things, and they simply cannot pay. And so we are killing the goose that lays the golden egg. If you know that story about somebody who had a goose that used to lay 1 golden egg a day, in his greed, he decided to open the goose stomach and take all the eggs. When he cut it open, there was nothing there. And the goose died. And so we are taxing our industries to death. And it's especially hypocritical because the same government and same head of economic management team accused us of taxation and said that they were going to move from taxation to production, from taxation to production. And yet today, we're taxing the Ghanaian more than ever before. If you go to a supermarket and you buy items, just take a look at the receipts. All kinds of levy. We are the only people who are still being punished for COVID. Even though COVID is gone, we pay COVID levy. And when you ask why, they say, oh, but the free water and free electricity that you enjoyed, you have to pay for it. And so we're living in hard times. And it would have been better if we were cutting out waste and saving the money that is lost to corruption. Just 2 days ago, the Ghana Integrity Initiative released the last Corruption Perception Index. And Ghana has not moved one step. It means in the last 4 years, we have not made any improvement in terms of corruption. And that is because the president himself has become the clearing agent for corruption. Anytime his people are accused of corruption, the president comes and clears them. He set up the Office of Special Prosecutor. Any case the Office of Special Prosecutor investigates, it is thrown out. And this government that set up the Office of the Special Prosecutor is now the government that is attacking the Special Prosecutor. So they've lost control in the fight against corruption. We're coming to another election in 2024. And we must learn from the experience of the past. There's a saying in English that beware of the Greeks when they come bearing gifts. Because in the past we've seen it before. And that's the old style politicking. Say things that are sweet to the ear of the electorate because all you want is political power. In Ghana, they say very cynically that if you are fighting for political power and it demands selling your mother, sell her. And when you get the power, you can go and retrieve her. What if you get the power and your mother has died? And so, people just say whatever when it's getting to elections, make false promises. In 2016, we were told that we're going to get one village, one dam. We didn't know those dams were going to be ponds, dark ponds. The cattle drink from it, and in 1 month the water is finished. One district, one factory. In all your Paramounts, I wonder where any factory is. But at the time it sounded very sweet in people's ears. And so that season is coming again. One of the basic principles of leadership is honesty. Don't tell the people you will do something that you know you do not intend to do. And that's the tragedy of the MPP administration. That they raised the hopes of Ghanaians so high. And yet, the disappointment has been very phenomenal. I've been around the country. Even a few of the factories that they said they have built, you go to many of them, there's no equipment in it. There's nothing happening there. We just passed Walwali. There was a promise of a watermelon factory. The building is standing there. There's nothing in it. And yet when they're counting one district, one factory, oh, we have a watermelon factory in Walwali. There's no watermelon factory in Walwali. And so the NDC will not come and promise what we can deliver. We know we're going to come and meet a very messed up economy. And that's why I've been cautioning that we must be measured in our demands. You cannot share what you haven't created. We all must create before we can share. And so our first responsibility will be to stabilize the economy and start growing the economy again. And we can only do that if we put our money where our mouths are and put our investments in the right place. Every part of this country has potential. When I was a young person growing up, the whole of the north was producing cotton. We had a cotton factory here. We had one in Tumu. We had one in Tamale. And it used to be supplementary income for our fathers and mothers. After they've harvested their sorghum and other things, they plant the cotton in between. And then they harvest the cotton, and it gives extra cash income to look after children, to pay other responsibilities that families have. And so we are going to look at the value chain in every part of this country, and we will invest in that value chain. If you go to Benin, their leading export is cotton, and yet go and see how it's revolutionizing that country. Our neighbors, Burkina Faso, our weather here is much better than theirs, and yet they are producing cotton and exporting. And so one of the things we're going to do is to revive the cotton industry so that our families can earn more income. Upper East region has become very important in the sense of food production, but we need to provide more irrigation facilities so that we can expand the production of food and other agricultural crops in the Upper East region. We have Via, we have Tono. When Professor Mills became president, we began the process of rehabilitating those two irrigation projects. Unfortunately, it has stalled, and we need to bring more land under irrigation, so that will be a priority for us. We started a Tamni irrigation dam, and even today, with the little parts that they have started producing, I saw a video where they were harvesting so much carrots for sale in the markets in Bolga and in the south. And that is just a fraction of the land we're bringing under cultivation. We will finish that project because we need a pump to lift the water and irrigate another 3,500 hectares of land. If we have all that land available, why would our people live here and go all the way south to go and do menial jobs? And so we're going to look at the capacity of every region, and we'll put the investments where it is necessary to provide meaningful and decent jobs for our people. Gold mining has become very important in the Upper East region, but we need to organize it in such a way that our people too get the benefits of the mining. So far, some foreign companies have come and started mining. Fine, if they have concessions and everything, we'll assist them so that they can employ more of our young people to mine. But there are many other places that are available for exploration, and to get local companies or even our young boys, artisanal miners, to do the mining. But just that we need to supervise it so that they do it in a safe manner. And so in all the districts where gold is being produced, I announced that day before yesterday, we're going to open district mining offices. And in the district mining office, you will have the Minerals Commission person there, you will have the Environmental Protection Agency person there, and all the people concerned with mining will be in that district mining office. And so if you want to apply for a small-scale mining concession, you don't have to go all the way to Accra. You would apply for that license here. And when you have got the license, they are going to supervise. If you bring an excavator, you report first at the district mining office. They will take the registration number of the excavator, and they will accompany you to where it is going to do the mining, so that we don't have this illegal small-scale mining that is taking place. And if we do that, it will benefit more of our people. And so those are some of the things that we are looking at. Infrastructure, when we're in government, education, in all the institutions, in all your Paramounties, we're building administration blocks, dining halls, students' dormitories, and others. In many of those institutions, after we left office, the work has come to a standstill. And as I've said, when we come back, in infrastructure, our main priority is to complete all abandoned projects that have been left, unattended to over the last 8 years. We will also continue the projects that the current MPP government is doing. And so I said that we're not in a hurry to start new projects, but we'll take an inventory of all the old and abandoned ongoing projects, and we'll put our money there to finish them so that we can start making use of them instead of wasting the taxpayers' money. We provided electricity to many communities, Unfortunately, after we left, the electrification program has come to a standstill. So many communities that were expecting electricity today still don't have electricity 8 years on. And so we will continue the electrification so that those communities would also benefit from that national good. We're working on the road networks, and unfortunately in 8 years, many of the roads that we're working on are still not completed. We also were doing the expansion for the Bolgatanga hospital. We finished phase 1 and we're on phase 2 of it, and the Saudi fund was the one funding it. And so we're expecting some equipment and all that. 8 years on, the equipment has still not arrived. So it's one of the things we'll fast track so that we can have a proper regional hospital. We also believe that Bolga should have an up-to-standard polyclinic so that we ease the pressure on the regional hospital. Today, anybody who gets up, even has malaria, is going straight to the regional hospital. But in every region, we have a municipal hospital and a regional hospital. And so I do believe that the regional hospital should take care of more serious cases, and then the municipal hospital or polyclinic will take care of other minor cases, diarrhea cases, typhoid, malaria, and things like that. Aside from that, we don't have a dialysis center here. Increasingly, kidney diseases have become difficult. I have a few friends who have passed away because they do not have access to dialysis. Today, if you have kidney ailment, you have to travel all the way down south to be able to get treatment. And so one of the things we'll prioritize is a dialysis center here in Bolga so that people don't have to travel all the way down. But Mr. President talked about security. And security is one of the major challenges we have here. It's in two parts. One is the chieftaincy crisis, which our president talked about. And I think that it's unfortunate that this crisis has reared its head again. At the time we were in office, we had virtually calmed things. Boku was a thriving community again. People were going about their business without fear of being harmed. Unfortunately now, you cannot roam freely in Boko. Just recently I was reading, they have put the ban on riding motorcycles again in the evening. And generally, it's a period of insecurity for the people living in that area. In the night, buses are fired upon and people are killed. Sometimes when the buses are going from Boko down, they are waylaid on the Bolga-Tamale highway, and some unknown people fire shots into the bus and injure people. These are things that we're going to make a priority when we come. We have done it before, we'll do it again. We will work hard to resolve the Boko crisis and bring peace back to Boko and surrounding areas. The second aspect of the insecurity is armed robbery. Armed robbery has become a major problem here, and it's affecting the economy of the Upper East region. You go to market days, you are coming back, armed robbers set on you, and they rob the people. We're going to mount a very strong fight against armed robbery, because you cannot have economic progress. You can't have economic progress in an environment of insecurity. And so it's imperative that we make sure that our region is safe and secure so that people can go about their businesses without fear of being harmed or killed. And so these are some of the few issues I thought I would raise. And I'm sure that now that I've said these few words, you'll be able to fill in. And I'm ready to come back to the microphone and respond to any of the suggestions or questions that you might have. I thank you very much. God bless you.
Hello. Your Excellency, we heard you. We also thank you for addressing the House. So, Your Majesties, now we heard His Excellency. So, your contributions. Okay, Bonaba.
Thank you very much. Herr President, our revered Excellency, former President John Dramani Mahama, I've heard all what you have said as your intentions, and they are very laudable. I want to add something on the environment, because we talk about improving agriculture, and we all know that agriculture is development, but it is now being challenged by the rainfall pattern. And I think for those of us who have done little agriculture, studied agriculture in secondary school, understand that when the ozone layer is depleted, rainfall becomes less. And when the environment, the trees are not there, it's difficult to get rain. You can only get heavy storm. And this reminds me of your initial program when you visited this house. You targeted environment and even gave us, supplied us motor kings to plant trees. Unfortunately, you did not succeed in coming back. What will you be doing to that aspect of reclaiming the environment? My second point is, electricity is now becoming a problem for us in the country as a result of our poverty. We have a lot of sunshine, and we are not making use of the sunshine or the sunshine. Will it not be prudent to consider solar energy for those of us in the north here who are very close to the desert and have a lot of sunshine? Then my last point is, shea nut is one of the most important cash products we have here. What will you do to make the shea compete with cocoa? Thank you very much.
Very brief. Yes. Good. So, thank you, Bunaba. Sakuti want to make a contribution, but we want us to be brief as much as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Naba President. Your Excellency, two issues. The Upper East region hasn't got any regional airport. We have to go all the way to Tamale and take a plane. Recently, an American investor was coming. He actually landed in Accra. He wanted to invest in this region. He asked, how long is it going to take him to come to Bolgatanga? He was told he can take a plane from Accra to Tamale, and that will take about 45 minutes. But from Tamale to Bolga, it will take him 2 or 3 hours. He said, I'll stay put. I will not go to the Upper East region. 30 years ago, land was acquired at Sumburungo. Vast land. Plans were made for the airport to be situated there. But politics. 30 years ago,
we haven't got any airport. Our younger sister, Upper West Region, have. So what plans do you have so that this region will get a befitting airport? Number two, investors. That is Gold Coast Security and other companies. We lost our investments. Even this very house, our welfare fund, we lost it. 3 years going. We contacted them. Oh, the case is between Ndoma and court. Especially pensioners. We were given partial bailout. 50,000. If you invest 100,000, we are giving 50,000 as partial bailout. 3 years getting to 4 years now. What are you going to do? We have lost. Most of the pensioners, some of them have perished. I'm not. No follow this. Court. 3 years we are still hanging on. Our welfare fund hanging on. So when you come to power, what plans do you have so that we don't lose our investment? Thank you.
Good. Maybe we'll just allow the last one, then the president will wrap up. Whose hand is up? Okay, now good. Indeed, Sakoti Naba has been very brief, and we hope the next speaker will also be briefer. Thank you.
You want them to be around, we'll look at them.
I'm very excited about the 24-hour economy. And I thought the president was going to expatiate on it, as Honorable Galga indicated. Yeah, but it didn't come. But a little I know about it. I say I am excited. I think it couldn't have come any time better than now. I think I call it the gospel of the 24-hour economy. Comparable to even the gospel that came in Jesus' time. And understand me with this exaggeration. When the gospel at that time came and Jesus was talking of deliverance, there were people who were burdened by their own sin and didn't know what to do to their own sin. And they wanted a deliverer. These were the people of faith. There were also other people who were burdened by the lordship of the Roman Empire. And so they also wanted independence. That's why Jesus was actually followed by two categories of people. Not all of them were religious. Some wanted real independence. That's why when he was crucified, some people said, if you can deliver, you can deliver people. Deliver yourself first. These were the fiscal people. The president, the former president has said it here, that the economy is in crisis. And I want to mention it again. And I'm doing this without fear of favor. Because this is the only time, or one of the times, that I have heard all Ghanaians agreeing that life is difficult. From president to the solicitor of arms on the road. Where we have divergence is what is the cause. And I give that to the politicians to debate. I don't have an opinion there. You see, poverty is biting. It is palpable. You can feel it. In these times, people are looking for a deliverer or something to deliver them. So when you come with 24-hour economy, you give hope and excitement to people. My good friend Louis, who I think doesn't understand much, but from the Ashanti he has been explained, he said, Mama, or your guy. And he's even suggesting that the current government could adopt it and implement it. And I think I'm with him. We are happy you are coming with that. Among all the other things you are saying, you yourself have said it, that sometimes politicians come with sweet things. And we are excited. But when they come, we don't see them. 24 hours, if it is what I understand it to be, I believe that it's going to increase the economy. It will increase it. We're going to get more jobs. Young men will get more jobs. Currently, unemployment is a problem. And I believe that as the economy expands, that taxation would also increase. Not necessarily burdening a few taxpayers, but increasing it. And this would all bring us money that we can do the things we want to do. One factory, one district, one factory, it needs energy. We'll be able to purchase gas, and you people say sometimes it is because we can't supply them with gas. That's why we are having the difficulties. We will solve all these problems. When you come, we are praying that you will implement it with all the seriousness, and including the other things you have said. God bless you.
Thank you. So the president will wrap up. Maybe time is not a luxury to us. In fairness, who?
Thank you, NABA President, for allowing me to say something. Your Excellency, former President John Dramani Mahama, I am happy. I am Binduri NABA and wish to also make something like a remark or comment, but mine is an advocacy. Why am I saying this? I am a retired coordinating director. However, one missing thing, not only the NDC, but all political parties, is research. You see, when you embark on a program and you don't strengthen your research team very well, you are going to run into doom. Why? Because you will see something going wrong, but what necessitates the wrong is not known. And how will you get it? We mistake research to be investigation, to be monitoring and evaluation. They are components of research, but they don't go into research. So I would advocate that when you see that 1, 2, 3 are with me, then 1, 2 are not with me, find out why. And it will dawn on you that it is not for reason. It was what it was, or it is what it is. Please, let us take research seriously. And I will advocate that engagement is very, very, very important. He has mentioned it. But before you engage, you should have research to find out what actually is on the people and what they are saying. So I was sitting here, I am actually personally impressed that somebody has come to engage us, and then asking that he will be visiting traditional councils. I also want to once again advocate that when you get to the traditional councils, at least try to meet the chiefs before you can meet the district. Because what happens is that a dog does not give birth in the public. If you get to something like Bolga Traditional Council, our own president, Chana Traditional Council, and you meet Chana Pio, the president, and his people, what they wouldn't have said here, they can say it over there. What they wouldn't have revealed here, they can reveal it over there, and it will help us. So please, if you are going to the traditional councils, make sure there's proper engagement with the chiefs. But intensify and focus on your research team. You will find out why this is that, and this is not that. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, to be honest, we are extremely happy as Ghanaians that you are taking this crucial step to engage all Ghanaians. We are engaging them as a former president, and it is our prayer that if God gives us the opportunity, we expect you to deliver. My prayer is that, and my advice is that, please listen and listen well to all concerns of all the socio-economic groups that you'll be engaging. And I'm sure you'll get to understand what is currently happening in our country. Upper East specifically, we have water problem. Water is our issue. Majority of the dams have been constructed over 60, 70 years ago. Previously we had one dam, one constituency, one dam, one constituency. And I can tell you that that has not been able to solve the problem. It's very, very, very important that we get water for domestic consumption. We get water for our animals, because our animals and farming is what we have here. And without water, we'll be in trouble. I would like to advise that whilst we are talking about 24 hours economy, which I think majority of us support, please, for Upper East sake, kindly look into the water situation for us. During your term, the Palogo Dam, to be able to support the electricity in the region or in the country, was something that you talked about. We've also heard it these days about investors on site to make sure that the water that we lost heavily anytime the Burkinabes open the Bagri Dam, it is really very sad that that water within few months disappears without us making good use of it. So please, in the event where it is not completed, we'd like to plead to you as a region to consider it as a priority. I'm not going to give the vote of thanks, but once again, thank you so much. We have a complicated setup of chieftaincy institution in the region, so making time to see us is extremely something that we praise you for, and we thank you very much, and continue to pray that the good Lord will protect, guide, and lead you in all your campaign trails. Thank you, and God bless.
Good. Thank you, President. Maybe from my understanding, since the former president will want to respond to some of the contributions made on the floor before we finally wrap up. If that is the case, Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think the contributions have been very incisive for most of the topics that have been raised by my fathers. I did not talk about them because of the shortness of the time that we have to spend here. But we do have an all-embracing policy. If I decide to talk about the policies we intend to implement, I think we'll spend the whole of today here going through it. But I'm happy my fathers have raised them, so I'll take the opportunity to touch on some of them. When we were in office, we started an afforestation program, and we started it with 5,000 young people. And we're paying them monthly an allowance. We provided them with tricycles and polytanks. And what we were doing was not a tree planting exercise. It was a tree, we called it a tree growing exercise. And so their duty was to plant the trees and go every day and make sure that the trees were thriving. During the rainy season, the rain is falling, so the trees are okay. But during the Harmattan, when the rain is not falling and there are bushfires, the likelihood that those trees will be destroyed is there. And so these boys created fire, were made to create fire belts around the trees, and then they go from time to time for the very young trees, they take the polytanks and they go and water. We're going to recapture that project again. And so in every district and every community, we're going to employ young people to grow trees. We want to encourage all Paramounties to get involved in the tree growing exercise. Every community must have woodlots. And we're going to give prizes to the Paramounties or the communities that do their best in afforestation. We're also going to give prizes to the communities and the Paramounties that are the cleanest. Make sure that the environment is clean. Those are all incentives to get rid of these plastics. Any community that is the Paramounty that we consider the cleanest, they will get a big cash prize, and then they'll get equipment to be able to plant more trees and then also to keep the community clean. These are some of the incentives we're planning. And the afforestation program is going to be nationwide. But of course, in the savannah area where we face desertification, we will really intensify it. And we already have a plan, and we're going to get funding from our international partners, from the World Bank and others, to prioritize that afforestation program. Because we can't continue cutting down the trees. We can take the example from Ethiopia. I went to Ethiopia last year, and Ethiopia has planted 1 billion trees, grown 1 billion trees, not planted. And the trees are growing and thriving. We can also do it in Ghana. You know, even if we plant 100 million trees or 200 million trees in Ghana, we will notice a difference in our environment. And so it's something that we will take seriously. We set up the first 5 kilowatt solar plants in Navrongo. And it was the first that we made a VRA to do. And that was the pilot. It was very successful. And so when we did the Renewable Energy Act, we put in there that as part of our energy mix, renewable energy should account for not less than 10%. I think that is necessary for renewable energy, especially in the areas where we have a lot of sunlight, to account for much more than just 10%. And so in the Upper East, for example, there's very good opportunity for solar, actually in the whole of the savannah area. And so we need to get a company like Netco to put in more solar into the mix so that we can reduce the general tariff that is charged, because solar energy is cheaper. And aside from that, at the time we built the Navrongo solar plant, the cost of solar equipment was still very high. Today, that cost has come down relatively. And so it's something that we can do. Aside from that, we can do off-grid solar. Off-grid solar means that you put a solar panel and you connect a whole community with the solar. And then you give them a prepaid meter. They buy it like credit on their phones. They just input it and the lights come on. And so those are also alternatives. And I think that a lot of communities will prefer it because their power use is not too high, you know, and the cost of tariffs for ECG, national power now, is very expensive. So many of our communities, they can't afford to pay, and they get disconnected by Netco. And so if they had a solar alternative that was cheaper, they would rather take that. And so we'll give communities the option to decide if they want to do a solar project, and we'll license a company to provide that service. It's not going to be government doing it. The company will come, put up the solar panels, connect you to the light, give you a small prepaid meter. You buy credits, you scratch it, put it on your phone, and then your lights will come on. And I think that that will be a cheaper option for many of our people. Aside from that, we want to implement an LPG gas program. I remember in the PNDC time, we did it. We brought appropriate stoves that our women were used to, and this time they use gas instead of firewood. The firewood is becoming very difficult to get. It's even becoming more expensive. And so if we're able to get cheaper gas and we make it available to our people, they would rather use gas. But sometimes the gas is not even available. And where it's available, it's too expensive. And so we will make an effort to make sure that we have cheaper gas and that more of our people move onto gas than using fuel wood. Share nut has been a major problem because we were not able to do plantations of share nuts because the share nut tree is a particularly difficult tree. It takes sometimes 15 years before it starts bearing fruit. Happily, I can announce that there's been a breakthrough in terms of getting a hybrid share nut that can begin to produce in about 3 to 4 years. And that research has been ongoing for a very long time at the Cocoa Research Institute in my holy village in Bole. And so I can assure Navropio and all of you that in the near future I'll be supplying you with share nut seedlings to establish your own plantations and be able to harvest your share nuts so that we can process it. It's particularly a good product because it goes to the lowest income earners in the country, because it's mostly the northern women who process the shea butter. And when you look at the Ghana social demographics, it will tell you that the poorest person in this country is a woman in the savannah part of this country. And so if we make a breakthrough in shea nuts and more shea nuts are available, it will create more jobs for our women, and it will also improve the local economy. We promised to set up shea nut factories when we come into office. We did the first one at Buipe, and I got the produce buying company to set it up. The factory was working, it had shea nuts, it had employed people, it was processing shea butter. Unfortunately, like everything else in this country, when the MPP took over, the factory has shut down. The shea nuts, they came and met, they sold it and spent the money. And now they didn't have capital to run. They haven't paid the workers for several years, and the factory has shut down. And so when we come, we'll revive that factory, because that factory was buying shea nuts from our shea nut farmers and processing the shea butter for export. And so we'll revive that. In every region, we want to create an industrial hub, and we're going to do this in collaboration with the private sector. A lot of investors don't want to come and acquire land and now build a factory and bring electricity and water to the site. And so we want to identify land where government will service and the private sector will service the area, do the roads, bring electricity and water. And so if you're an investor and you want to come and do your factory, you're not now going to look for land and then come and clear it and then you draw power from wherever it is to that place. You will come and you will do it, and the land is available for you to do. When I talked about white gold, which is cotton, we have the ginneries, but we also want to bring the textile factories to the north, because textile factories employ a lot of people and it will give a lot of northern youth work to do. And so when we grow the cotton, the ginneries will gin the cotton. We're not going to export the cotton. We're going to give the cotton to the textile factories that will spin the yarn, and then they can use the yarn to do the primary grey bath cloth, and then we sell it to the GTPs and other companies that do the textiles for women. And so it will be an integrated development. Secretary Naba talked about the airport. It is important. And if you remember, when I was president, we acquired the land. We went and inspected the land, and Ghana Airport Company started to work on it. Unfortunately, we left office, so it did not become a reality. But recently, I've had some moves to activate it using a private company. because they also need it for their operations. And so if NDC comes into power, it's something that will continue and make sure that Upper East region gets a good airport so that we can fly directly from anywhere to the region. As our chief said, Sekoti Naba, the Undum case is in court, but that was one of the tragic mistakes of this government. They took a panic decision and shut down a lot of indigenous financial institutions because of liquidity issues. I believe that if they had injected about 7 billion cedis into the Ghanaian-owned financial institutions, it would have resolved the issues of liquidity. Instead, they very quickly just shut them down and they guaranteed the deposits. And so it eventually ended in a debt of 25 billion cedis when you could have used just 7 billion cedis to resolve the issue. So you treat a 7 billion cedis with a 25 billion CD debt. And that is why they are still not able to pay. 2 years ago, in the budget, they allocated 5 billion cedis to pay depositors. And I can tell you that of the 5 billion, not one CD was released. And I can tell you that in this year's budget, we've looked in this year's budget, there is no allocation to pay those debts. And so, Secretary Naba, if you are hoping that something will come this year, forget it. It's not in the budget at all. But it's an obligation that government must honor. And so it's something that we look favorably upon. We condemn the closure of those financial institutions because these were institutions that were set up with the hard-earned investments of Ghanaians. Today, now all the financial institutions that are surviving in terms of banks are the foreign-owned banks. All the Ghanaian-owned banks, we have shut them down, except for a few, Prudential and Omni and a few of them. And I think that that was a mistake. It has sent more than 10,000 people into unemployment who were bankers before. But the sad thing is that the situation also arose because these companies were lending at the risky end of the market. That is where the big banks won't go. But these ones were ready to risk and give small credit to small and medium enterprises and others. And when you operate there, that's where you have the risk of being able to not being able to reclaim your credit. And so I think that it was a hasty decision. But aside from that, the tragedy is that a lot of the money that was the problem in terms of liquidity was money that was owed to contractors who had been financed by these companies. These companies give government contractors projects and contracts. The contractors come to Group Undum and all those other Ghanaian indigenous companies and borrow the money to go and execute the contract. And then when they executed the contract, an MPP came, MPP said, we suspend all contracts, we are not going to pay anything. That is what led to the problem they were facing. And so if government had even paid the contractors and the contractors had paid them, we probably would not be in the situation in which we are. And yet anytime they raised the issue about government debt, they said, no, we have no contract with you. We have no issue with you about debt. It is between us and the contractors. But your liquidity is a problem. But it doesn't exist in isolation. It's a cycle. Because they lent to the contractors and suppliers. The suppliers did work for you, for which you owe. If you had paid the suppliers and contractors, they will pay the banks and the financial institutions. And instead, you went and shut them down. And up to now, many of those contractors have not been paid. I know contractors who presented certificates in 2017. They borrowed money from Unibank and all these other financial institutions. Up till today, government has not paid them. And so I do think that it wasn't a well thought out issue. With regards to visiting chiefs, yes, we will. When the campaign starts, we're going to come round the constituencies. And normally when we come to the constituency, the first point of call is to visit the owner of the land and hold discussions with you before we go and have our rally. So even though we've met here, this is not the beginning of the campaign. This is just the Building Ghana tour. It's part of our consultation with traditional rulers. But when the time comes and we come to the constituency, we will visit the ruler first before we do anything else. Water is a problem, and when we're here, we did many small town water systems. The ones that immediately come to mind is Navrongo. We expanded the Navrongo water system. We did a new water system in Garu. There are many places where we drilled boreholes and provided water to people. But Upper East region needs a major source of water supply. And we are the ones who envisioned we called it the Pualugu Multipurpose Dam, because it was supposed to do several things. The first thing it was supposed to do was to alleviate the perennial flooding that was caused by the Bagri Dam anytime it was opened. And so the intention was that once we get notice that the Bagri Dam was going to be opened, we would open the floodgates of the Pualugu to release some of the water, so that when the Bagri water comes, it will replace what was held back by the dam. That was the basic reason for that dam. But then, in holding back the water, we realized that we could produce electricity. And it could produce between 30 and 50 megawatts of power. That was the estimation. And 30 and 50 megawatts of power in the Savannah area is significant, because here our consumption is not as high as in major cities in the south. And so it would have supplemented the electricity supply here. The third reason for the multipurpose dam was to bring about 10,000 hectares of land under irrigation. And then the fourth reason was to get a major source of water supply for communities like Bolga and other major towns. And so it is a project that we envisioned. This president came and cut the sword under and Sino Hydro were appointed as the contractors. The impression was created that it was going to be funded by Sino Hydro, but that's not true. It was to be funded by GOG, Government of Ghana budget. And you know how Government of Ghana budget operates. If they come and cut sword in any place and tell you that they are building something for you, if it's GOG, you can be sure that it will suffer the hazards of financing. And so, even though the sword was cut before 2020 to convince the people of Upper East to vote, there was no intention of ever completing it. It was one of those political gimmicks that this government is well known for. But we can say seriously that that is our baby. We envisioned it. And so when we come, it's something that we're going to look at. And we've already discussed with several organizations because of the importance of it in terms of agriculture, in terms of value chain. I think that is something that we can get dedicated funding for. Because if we continue and say Government of Ghana is going to use its funds to do it, it's never going to happen. And so we need to get a dedicated funding to be able to fund it and bring it to reality. And once we bring it and we have enough water, we'll put a water station on it, pump water to Bolga, to Navrongo, and to the east, so that all our communities get a reliable source of water supply. Then 24-hour economy. I think that I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. I didn't want to open it up, otherwise then it would take some more time. But it's simple. It says that create the conditions for existing businesses to be able to work more than just one shift a day. And I remember when I was young, I grew up in Tamale. In Tamale we had vegetable oil mills. We had Nasia rice factory. We had Mensilo rice factory. We had Tiger Pito factory. I mean, if you went to the industrial area, there were so many factories there that were built in Nkrumah and Achampon's time. And all those factories used to run 24 hours. They used to run shifts. night shift and day shift. And so they increased the number of people who work. The cotton generals, Ghana Cotton Company, it used to run 24 hours a day. And it had 2 shifts, day and night. Some come in the morning, early, 7 a.m., and they close at 6. Then the others come at 7 p.m. and close at 6 the next morning. And so it's something that used to exist. It's not new. It's not like I conjured it in my head. And filling stations when I was young didn't used to close. You go at any time of the night and they are there available to serve you. Pharmacies didn't used to close. In the night, if there's an emergency, you need medication, the pharmacies were open. You go and buy your drugs. You know, restaurants didn't used to close. We go to the disco in the night, we close at 4 a.m. We go, the restaurant is working, we order our food and we eat. And so, it's not only in Ghana. You go abroad, many of you chiefs have traveled. You go to London City, it never sleeps. It is working 24 hours. The buses are running, people are closing from work, going back home, others are entering the buses and going to work. And so we're saying that with the kind of unemployment we have, in 2016 unemployment was 8%. Today unemployment is 14%. So it's gone up. A lot of our youth are finishing school, they have no work to do. So we're saying, why do we sleep in the night? Let's create the conditions so that we continue working at night, so that more people can get work. That is the simple reasoning behind it. And so the point we are making is there are challenges. I'm the first to admit. And one of the first challenges is security. You cannot do 24 hours when there's insecurity, because armed robbers will come and attack you. And so we're saying that one of the spin-offs of 24 hours is that we must increase security so that everybody is safe to work in the evening. The other challenge is that you must find a way of lowering costs so that these companies can work. And so you must give them tax incentives. For those who sign up to 24 hours, you can give them a lower tax threshold to reduce their tax so that they can invest it in the business and employ more people. And so that is also one of the issues. The third is transport. You must have a good transport system so that people who have to work in the day or night are able to transport, are able to go to work. If you go to London, the buses are running 24 hours a day. And so when you come out, you go and stand at the bus stop. You will get a bus to take you to where you have to go and work. And so let's look at the things that are constraining the environment so that businesses cannot work 24 hours. And let government and those businesses resolve them. Look at the port. Our port is working 24 hours. When a ship leaves, even if it's 2 a.m., another ship comes and they start offloading. They run 2 shifts. But the reason why we can't take advantage of it is that customs closes at 5. The banks at the port close at 5. And so even though your container has been taken off, because customs and the banks have closed, you cannot take your container, even though your container has been taken off. And so we're saying that if it's personnel, let customs employ more people. Our young people will get jobs in customs. If it is the banks, employ more people and make sure the bank is open 24 hours so that in the night, those whose cargo is there can go and clear their cargo. It will even reduce the demurrage so that they are able to take their cargo quickly before the 5 days where you start charging them demurrage. And so it is possible, and I'm saying it's voluntary. We're not going to force people to run 24 hours. We'll give incentives. In the night when we all go to sleep, there's excess power. Nobody is using it. And so it's going to waste. So those who sign up for 24 hours will give you a special meter. And so in the night when you're operating, you'll be operating at a lower cost in terms of power than in the daytime. And so that's another incentive to reduce your cost so that you can invest that back in your business. And so it is a key policy that we intend to implement, and what we'll do is we'll use the muscle of government to help the companies that decide to run 24 hours. Because in the budget, government is the biggest spender in the economy. Government buys more things than anybody else. And so we're going to make it a policy that government should buy made in Ghana goods from the companies, especially that are doing the 24 hours, so that we can increase their production. We have pharmaceutical companies that produce paracetamol, antibiotics, they produce children's syrups, cough mixtures, they produce antiretroviral drugs and all that. If government makes its mind that we're going to buy all these drugs from local companies instead of bringing it from India, you think that the pharmaceutical companies cannot work 24 hours to supply Ghana with those drugs? They can. And if they're even able to supply Ghana and they produce more, they can export to Burkina Faso and to Liberia and Sierra Leone and Mali. And so it is a policy that will give more jobs to our young people, because if businesses are running more than 12 hours, they will have to take on additional labor. And so that's a flagship policy we have, and we're going to implement it. I don't say it will happen in one day, but we will start the implementation of a 24-hour economy so that Ghana can take advantage of the opportunities we have. Right now, we've passed the African Continental Free Trade Area. Why are we not trading amongst ourselves? Because we are not producing enough. We go to work at 8, we close at 5. And so we're not even producing enough for the Ghanaian market, not to talk about the international market. And so we're not exporting anything out to other countries as much as we thought we would if we had free trade. And so we must jack up our production. The only way we can do it is to increase the productivity from our existing plant capacity and then build more factories. We have the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme that allows us to export tariff-free into our different countries. But we're not doing that. It's only the farmers, onions, tomatoes, and things. Meanwhile, we can produce shoes. If you go to Kumasi, they're producing beautiful shoes. If we incentivize them, they can produce those shoes and increase the export of those shoes to Burkina Faso and Mali and others. And so it's our flagship program, and I'm sure that we'll be able to start the implementation of it successfully. And as we go on, if other successive governments come, they can continue it and make sure that Ghana becomes the hub for manufacturing and production in the whole of West Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Majesties, at this juncture, maybe we are wrapping up, and there is an announcement the President will want to